Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having a fantastic day. All right, we're just about ready to get this assault going on the Gray Garrison, but let me make sure I've exhausted all my dialogue with these characters, and I have not with her. The elf in front of you is young, still an adolescent by the standards of their long-lived folk. A childish, carefree smile plays on her face, and her wandering eyes linger on you for just a moment before darting off again into the distance. Terrible scars cover her body, and a few of her fingers are missing. A crow sits on her shoulder, observing you with its clever black eyes. Tell me about yourself. Well, they call me Ember. I used to live in the River City, and now I walk with you. That's my story. Why do they call you Ember? I've had many names. When I was little, Mom and Dad called me Dove or Cricket or Kitten. Dad called me his ray of sunshine. And when my mom was cross, she called me by a long name, a grown-up one. I can't remember it, no matter how hard I try. Then, when I came to live in the River City, the good people called me different funny names like Ember or Torch or Smoky. I don't know why. They call me Bird Brain because I have a crow. They call me Lucky Seven because of my fingers. The girl raises her hands. The middle finger on her right hand and the two smaller fingers on her left are missing. They sometimes called me Grilled Meat and said I was stupid, but I didn't feel hurt. I mean, they're right. I really am silly. They didn't mean to hurt me. Cray. I like Ember. It's a good word. Embers are like people. On the outside, they're gray and cold like stones, but they're warm inside. You can blow on them and they'll start a fire to help you survive a cold night. And that's wonderful, isn't it? Ember it is. Where are you from? Far away from the flower country. The girl gestures vaguely off into the distance. It's so beautiful there. Everywhere there's flowers blooming, golden towers, and waterfalls. And everyone is like me, with pointy ears. There's no round-eared people, no short ones, no horned heads. We lived there together, me and Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad argued a lot. Dad used to say that all the good people should go on the crusade and fight the demons. And Mom said he was silly because it was so far away and none of our business. And that he shouldn't abandon his child. She meant me. But he didn't abandon me. He took me along. He said I was born the same year that the hole to the demon world opened. He said it was a sign that I would be one of the heroes who closed it. Of course, I'm not a hero, but I'm here anyway, helping as much as I can. Where did you get your scars? It happened by accident. My dad and I came sailing down the river to join the crusade. Dad said all the good people were going to the war wound to heal it. He said that the Crusaders were the best people in the world, and together we were going to win. But when we arrived at the River City, the Crusaders got everything mixed up. They thought my dad and I were bad and decided to burn us at the stake. Dad died, and I cried so loudly that one good night realized it was all a big mistake. He started yelling at the other Crusaders, even the one in charge, and then walked right into the fire and got me out. The others wanted to stop him, but he took out his sword and scared them away. The kind knight took me to a healer. I later learned that while the knight was pulling me from the flames, he himself was burned so badly that he died not long after. But I'm still alive. A few fingers missing, and my skin is funny. I've lived in the River City ever since. I never had my own house, but I had many friends. And then the demons came, and I met you. And you know what happened after that. So, what is she? I'm really looking forward to finding out. Because that whole story is cray-cray. And where's her mom in all of this? Is her mom the crow? Is that it? If they did something like that to me, I would never forgive them. I'd find everyone who was present and make them suffer the same way. Definitely. Something law. That's what happens when people let the law do it instead of their conscience. No, we're not guided by conscience. Evil. No. Why? If you hurt them, will their pain diminish? It is easy enough to flood the world with evil, but how can we lessen it? I don't know. The girl shrugs with a carefree smile. Do you worship any deity? The girl shakes her head with an unfailing smile. Dad taught me to pray to Ayamade. He said she was a kind goddess and she called people to crusade against evil. The knights who burned my dad and me worshipped her too. They even lit the fire with a prayer to her, and she did nothing to help us. But then one kind knight, alone, without any gods, changed his mind and saved me. I think the gods are the same as us. They don't understand anything, and they're scared of everything, so they hurt themselves and the rest of us. People worship the gods only because they're afraid of being responsible for themselves. And the gods listen to the praise, and they become smug and arrogant, and begin to believe that they're better than us. But they're no better. They're silly sinners, just like the rest of us. Sometimes I pray to the gods, different ones, the good ones, the bad ones. I ask them to stop. Stop fighting and hurting each other. I don't know if they ever hear me, but if they do, the knight who wanted to burn me, he was able to change his mind and do a good deed. If he can change, maybe Baphomet can too. How did you survive on the streets? The elf shrugs. There are many good people in the River City. When I sang for them in the street, they'd often give me coins or bread or sometimes even clothes. I shared everything with the other homeless, and they showed me where it's safe to sleep, where I could get out of the rain and cold, where I could find discarded things. When the demons destroyed the River City, I looked for my friends, but I found no one. They probably all died. The homeless have no supplies or weapons or basements to hide in, and the knights won't protect them either. Knights are like gods, so self-important. They're saving the world after all. What do they care about the homeless? Still smiling, the girl shrugs. Where do your magical powers come from? These tricks? I have them from my grandma. She used to be my father's grandma, and before that his father's. I've never seen her myself, but she's very clever and kind. When I lived on the street, sometimes she left food for me or a blanket in the winter. Sometimes I feel her stroking my hair as I fall asleep. But if I open my eyes, there's no one near. So that's who the crow is. It's her grandmother. Interesting. But is her mother still alive? She also sent me Soot. The girl scratches the crow's beak, and the bird grumbles happily in response. She tells Soot how to do different tricks, and Soot teaches me. It seems the girl doesn't know who gives her these powers. Her familiar was obviously sent by a powerful creature of good, perhaps an angel or a fae, that you couldn't say exactly who. Thank you for your answers. Oh no, not at all. I didn't really tell you anything. You're always so cheerful. How do you manage to remain so hopeful when we're surrounded by such horror? Hope? The girl tilts her head and continues with a smile. No, hope is a lie. What should we hope for? This world is in the hands of demons. The gods can't help, or they don't want to, or they forgot about us altogether. The people know they're about to be eaten by demons, but still they quarrel with each other and fight and steal. There's no hope. Only us. We'll have to win without hope. It will be hard. The entire abyss is against us. We can only win by some miracle, which means we'll have to make one happen. What other choice do we have? We'll work a miracle and win, because we have to. The elf smiles broadly and nods to herself. I have to go. So go. The elf watches you with a radiant smile as you leave. He's missing something. I thank you for saving the esteemed citizens of Kennebrez, even though not all of them deserve to be saved. May I Amade forgive my words. Irabeth casts a meaningful look at Count Eride, sitting at a nearby table. I don't really mean that, of course. I just never fail to be astounded by the way that good people seem to perish, while the not so good prove to be incredibly, amazingly enduring. Even so, the Count did offer me his aid. He can't be all that bad. As you know, I don't feel that way. What's your problem with Darren? Is there bad blood between you two? Oh no, nothing like that. I think it dislikes all paladins equally, but the real question is, who does he like? Only his hanger-ons, I wager. The Count has a certain reputation in Mendev. He's not a pleasant individual by any means, but he's not known for any particular villainy either. The Count enjoys a life of leisure, surrounded by a gaggle of sycophants who are always eager to badmouth the Queen at his command. He likes settling scores, too. There was a hero of the First Crusade, Sir Lant, a kind and honest man. After the end of his glorious career as a soldier, he became a wise mentor to the younger generation. He ran afoul of the Count somehow, perhaps by lecturing him about his idle lifestyle and a lack of purpose. When Sir Lant died, the Count managed to buy a portion of his estate and ordered the knight's helmet to be reforged into a chamber pot. And, of course, he didn't keep his little joke private. The Queen was particularly affronted by it because Sir Lant used to be our most loyal comrade in arms. I was there receiving an assignment from Her Majesty and witnessed the exact moment she found out about the helmet's fate. It's a small thing, but I could see the Queen's anguish at the travesty that had been made of her friend's legacy. That's what our Count is like as a person. And as far as for his talent for survival, do you know the story of Heaven's Edge? He was the only member of his family to escape with his life when the demons unleashed a magical plague at their Rende estate. Could you tell me more about the events at Heaven's Edge? I don't know all the details. It happened a while ago, back when I was a mercenary and had nothing to do with Kennebrez. I only know that there was a grand feast in honor of Darren's birthday, and all his relatives were invited, along with a few other distinguished guests. Everyone died from a mysterious disease someone had unleashed on the estate, including the servants, the guards, and a number of clerics and paladins. But the young Count survived, because of his healing ability, I suppose. Darren does possess an unusually brilliant talent, even if the application of his skills leaves much to be desired. Erebeth scowls. Why is he trying to provoke the Queen? Who knows? Could be some family member. The Count is Her Majesty's cousin, twice removed, or something like that. But I think he simply enjoys infuriating people, Crusaders and Iamede's servants especially. Thank you for telling me all this. My pleasure. I'm sorry you had to endure my grumbling. Watching these things happen in my city has put me in a foul mood. I found Janna Adori like you asked. Yes, thank you. It's good to have her back. We need every fighter we can get. Erebeth frowns. I suppose it's asking too much to want fighters that are sober as well. I have to go. Go. May Iamade keep you safe. All right. Now that we did that, circle back. There you are, my dearest commander. People say that you are deliberately trying Queen Galfrey's patience. Is that true? Does it even matter? All of Mendevian high society has declared war on me. They either despise me or they're trying to steer me back on the right path, and I'm doing everything in my power to keep them on their toes. I relish the prospect of all this fun this mess in Kennebrez will bring. Darren grins from ear to ear. I shall either commission a song about the great Kennebrez fiasco from a certain talented bard, or confuse the jewelers with a rather tall order, a batch of silver dragon toys with detachable heads. Give me a week, and they will be in every shop in the capital. You should make sure it's easy to rip the wings off the dragon trinket as well. Kids are going to love it. So be it. From now on, you are my muse. May I ask you a few personal questions? You can try. I've heard stories about the tragedy that befell your family. I hope you don't feel obliged to offer me your insincere condolences on this unfortunate occasion. My whole family, my entire noble line, they all died, and demons are to blame. It's not like I actually loved any of my relatives except for my mother, but what's gone is gone. The family crypts are full of corpses, all covered in dust and the shadows of the past. What do you cherish most in life? There are far too many things that I cherish to fit them all into a single conversation. Believe it or not, but I may be one of the most life-loving people you've ever known. Darren smiles. His eyes are gleaming with something different from his usual impudence and irony. There's a dreamy air about him all of a sudden. I rarely meet anyone who embraces the joys of living as enthusiastically as myself. There are so many exciting and beautiful things in the world. It should be illegal to waste your time on anything you do not enjoy, and I am not afraid to repeat that to anyone's face, should it be Descari and his demonic herd, or I am a day, the Lightbringer herself. What do you hate the most? The feeling of helplessness, the lack of control over my own life, Darren replies without thinking. Then he adds, with obvious sarcasm, and onion rings, of course. I'd murder the person who came up with these abominations. You don't seem especially keen on helping people, but your knowledge of healing is truly impressive. What prompted your interest in that? Ah, if you really want to try out everything life has to offer, you also have to understand how to deal with the consequences. And I'm not talking about a simple hangover, mind you. Do you have any good stories about your past exploits? I've got plenty, but I have to warn you that even the most outrageous debauchery sounds far less thrilling when you're not the one doing the debauching. Still, since you asked, I suppose the worst mess I've ever got myself into was when I staged my own kidnapping. I was once in correspondence with one of the Riverland nobles, the young Lord Lebetta, and he told me about his days as a hostage to a group of bandits. This made me wonder what it would be like, and I thought that it might be fun to set up a little experiment. I engineered my own kidnapping by a certain gang through a chain of intermediaries and hired actors. Those fellows took the job very seriously. They caught me by surprise, killed my 2 bodyguards, and even tied me up. Of course, the whole thing seems preposterous now, but it seemed like an ingenious idea at the time. The employers had told the kidnappers that they were to keep me safe and sound, and another group of mercenaries in disguise was watching the spectacle from afar, ready to interfere in case anything went wrong. It turned out to be a terrible idea nonetheless. It wasn't the least bit fun or exciting. Sure, those bandits had been unable to torture or hurt me physically in any way, but they had plenty of other non-evasive methods of humiliation in their arsenal. Taking almost all of your clothes off and splashing ice cold water all over you, for example. Yeah, I can't even remember if I said anything truly offensive to provoke them. Even though I initially planned to let them go after the ransom, their overly emotional reactions made me change my mind. I told my mercenaries to hang them all on the spot. I suppose the whole ordeal taught me a valuable lesson, which is that I am not built for hardships and trials. Wait, you just told me that a couple of your bodyguards died during the stage kidnapping. Does that mean 2 innocent people? I don't give a damn about innocent people. Hold on. I'd say life's too short not to try out everything you can. I shall console myself with that thought. So that was a stupid story, and now I'll tell you a truly brilliant one. Prelate Holron had always strictly prohibited any public celebrations at Canterbury, and he always picked on me for my lack of respect for the fallen and whatnot. His grumbling annoyed me so much that one day I drove 4 barges into the city harbor and set up a celebration on their decks. The ships on the river didn't fall under the prelate's jurisdiction, you see, so all they could do was snarl at me from the embankment. I, for one, did not forget the old boy. The main attraction of the festivities involved an inquisitor of Ayamadei dancing and roasting beautiful witches on illusory bonfires, taking off his clothes with every new victim. The spectacle was so heated, in every sense of the word, that the prelate almost had a stroke. Darren gives you a mischievous smile. I still consider that one of my finest ideas of all time. Should the Crusaders ever succeed in their efforts against the World Wound, I will do my utmost to get permission to hold a grand public celebration. Rivers of wine free of charge, an obligatory parade and a carnival in the evening, a contest for the most provocative succubus costume with a hefty prize in gold, another contest where the participants have to fish a sausage out of a wine jar blindfolded with their hands tied behind their backs. The wine will symbolize the blood of all the dead heroes of the ward, and the sausage, well, they'll find a heroic meaning for that as well. Over the years, the commemoration of the greatest victory of light over darkness will turn into an ordinary holiday, a fine excuse to get sloshed and rut like animals in the streets. Do you enjoy being mean to everyone? Yes. And here I thought you were hurling insults at people purely by accident. Darren laughs. This time his smile is surprisingly soft. I like your way with words. What did you expect me to say if I wanted to make a good impression? Something along the lines of, I'm not mean. I'm just being honest with myself and everyone else. That's what people use as an excuse when they want to keep up their saccharine facade while still saying whatever nasty little thoughts spring to mind. That is not what I do. I have no hidden agenda. I'm just as much of an insufferable prick as I seem to be. Some people are simply begging for a good dose of mockery, so who am I to deny them? I don't give a damn if anyone holds a grudge against me, which is why I don't even try to avoid it. I have no more questions. I like to talk about life in Mendev and the Crusade. I hope this conversation was at least the slightest bit amusing. Ask. I'm all ears. What's your opinion on Mendev today in general? It doesn't exist, Darren scowls. It is a frontier country that has attracted every utopian, adventurer, and fanatic from all over the world for more than a century. It is a place where the strangers outnumber the locals, especially in the cemeteries. The population of Mendev, for the most part, consists of humans and other races not exactly known for their longevity. So the current generation of Mendevians were born in the shadow of the World Wound and raised by the Crusades. I might be the last person to complain about the decline of traditions and lack of character in our country, but I also happen to come from one of Mendev's most ancient lineages. Its history is bred deep in my bones. My tutors told me stories about my heritage. The galleries, libraries, and even the interiors of the manors I grew up in were filled to the brim with memories of events long past. There are many heroes of old Mendev among my glorious ancestors, or at the very least, patrons and contemporaries of such heroes. Does anyone actually remember them now? I don't think so. These days, Mendev has its own heroes in shining armor and with holy fire in their eyes. I myself remember how several streets that once celebrated my ancestors were renamed in honor of some crusaders who had died in a heroic fashion. None of the citizens remember the old crossing festival that was eventually replaced by our mass. These holidays even share the same date. Pretty much the only authentic thing about Mendev now is its endless war with the demons. And is there a point in bemoaning this state of affairs? What's gone is gone, but at least we are no longer some tiny godforsaken northern kingdom, and that's something, isn't it? You don't really like Crusaders, do you? Quite the opposite. When I think about how many devoted heroes are willing to protect this world against the demonic threat, I feel so inspired. Inspired to continue indulging my vices while they fight to keep me safe. Imagine being someone like me. Someone who has everything they can possibly desire. Youth, beauty, wealth, an honest wish to live and enjoy living. But vanishingly few ways to put it all to any use. The fact that the word fun itself is not yet outlawed in Mendev must be due to some bureaucratic oversight. You can celebrate your victories solemnly. You can wet your whistle after a challenging battle. But what about real fun? Joys, pleasures. I can't remember a single evening at court without someone chastening me for my banquets, my lovers and mistresses, my luxuriant clothes, my everything. It would have been a lot easier to tolerate all these hypocrites if they took a break once in a while. Instead, there was a constant fuss about how I wasn't doing anything for the greater good, and I only brought shame to my royal cousin. What do you think of our enemies? Do you mean the demons themselves or their followers? The former deserve to be cleansed with heavenly fire for their unholy origin alone, and the latter for their idiocy. I don't understand why a sane person would submit themselves to Daskari or Cabriri. Alright, Lady Noctula almost seems like a bearable enough mistress, yet there are so many other cultists. They tried to recruit me twice already, and I'm not even that old. First, a very pretty Thiefling girl tried to seduce me. Then they came with the promises of Lord Baphomet's endless boons. I still wonder what exactly the old hornhead could offer me that I don't already have. You know what I've been thinking? Every shopkeeper knows this trick. An enticing offer along the lines of 1 in every 100 buns from my bakery contains a silver coin. And, of course, a hired actress to make a memorable show of finding said coin in her sweet roll. And there you have it. Hundreds of gullible fools stormed the shop hoping to win a prize for themselves. I think the infamous Arwalu Vorlesh was such an actress for the Lords of the Abyss, a petty Sarkonian witch who became the uncrowned queen of the Whirlwind, waited upon hand and foot by demon lords. Only instead of visiting a bakery, the gullible fools rushed to join the cultists. We have an army of unbelievably powerful supernatural invaders from another dimension, hell-bent on destruction and domination, and what do these fools do? They serve them willingly as pawns and lackeys, hoping against hope that someday their masters will notice them. You won't believe how delighted I am to be so vain and self-absorbed. These sins protect me against demonic temptation better than any virtue. That is fantastic writing and dialogue, by the way. I love that entire sequence. Darren is awesome. I can't think of anything else at the moment. Wonderful. So what made you join my party after all? You mean instead of carousing far away from Kennebrez with a small army of mercenaries to protect me? I will get to that. You see, when you appeared at my door out of nowhere, awash with bravery and heroism, and started tossing demons around like rag dolls, I thought that your company might be more exciting than my usual crowd of sycophant hang-girls. You seem competent and mysterious at the same time, so I decided that a little demon hunting wouldn't hurt, especially with such an intriguing entourage. That party had been growing staler with every passing second anyway. Needless to say, I'm not here for long. I shall return to the capital or even one of my country estates as soon as we reclaim the city. Crusaders, bellowing commanders, row upon row of identical tents. This is not the life for me, but I will certainly remember you and our adventures together. For a week, or perhaps even longer than that. I should go. Goodbye. All right. And now, storyteller. The blind elf looks better than he did in your last encounter. His clothes are clean and his pale face is of color. The elf turns to you and listens closely. Is that you, my savior? I recognize your footsteps, determined footsteps, befitting a determined person. Allow me to thank you again for saving me. Please accept this humble gift as a token of my appreciation. The elf hands you a small black ring with 2 scarlet runes on it. Erebeth has explained why you're looking for me. I warned the authorities of Kennebrez that the local wardstone had been desecrated. They waved off my warning and paid for their inaction. When I lived in the River Kingdoms, my advice proved quite useful for a young kingdom founded there by some resourceful adventurers. Too bad Holron and his advisors were not as far-sighted as to listen to me. I've examined many wardstones, but only in the one guarding Kennebrez did I sense a flaw, a spot of corruption inside, a vulnerability the demons will surely use. They are able to spread the blight inside of the wardstone, corrupt it, and make it their weapon. It frightens me to think what it would be capable of. The wardstone must be destroyed. Who are you, and why did they let you examine the wardstone? The elf smiles faintly. I am the storyteller, just an old elf. And a bit more. I am old, even for an elf. I've seen many things and have been to many places. Not so long ago, I witnessed the makings of a young kingdom in the Stolen Lands, led by a remarkable and promising individual. My advice on the complicated matter of conquering those lands proved useful to that leader. This is not uncommon for me. Some seek my advice or services, and I don't refuse. This is how I acquired my reputation as an old vagrant who's never hurt anyone, stayed out of other squabbles, but sometimes gave good advice. I had a few friends in Neurosan who vouched for my integrity. This is why my humble request to be allowed to see the wardstones was granted. I visited all of them, but only found cause for alarm in Kennebrez. Do you wield special magical power, some instinct? The storyteller chuckles. Yes, to a certain extent, but it's more of a gift. I can see the past, stories that have happened. I touch an object, and shreds of its owner's memories are revealed to my mind. Their emotions, passions, and tragedies. I see visions like I am them, and their stories happen to me. This is my power. I've been roaming the world gathering such stories for many thousands of years. One day, I will gather them all. What blight is concealed in the wardstone? I'm afraid I don't have the answer to your question. To understand the nature of this blight, we need to understand how the wardstone was created, and it is hidden from me. I can only guess. Have you not heard of the Red Morning Massacre, a dreadful morning remembered with fear even by those not yet born at the time? A demoness called Monago invaded the city with a crowd of her followers and started to do what demons do best: kill and desecrate. They say they cover the ward stone with pieces of dead bodies, splotched it with blood from top to bottom. Could such an abomination darken the radiance of the gift of Ayamade herself? The locals think this is impossible, but who knows? It was not the last attack. Many demon leaders brought their unholy forces here, even the terrifying baller Karamadev. I'm never going to be able to pronounce that properly. Their attacks were rebuffed, but they still reached their target. I think this is when the seed of corruption was planted in the stone. It wouldn't have grown on its own, but Daskari himself has now come to take advantage of this weakness, to open the abscess that has been festering for years, unnoticed by the people of Kennebrez. And when the demon lord struck the blow, the weakened stone gave in. Now it's in demons' hands, and nothing is stopping them from spreading the blight throughout the entire stone, and from it to the other stones along the whole perimeter of the world wound. Why did you travel to the ward stones? I tried to see their stories. The visions I had when I touched the ward stones were unclear. I saw hundreds, maybe thousands of different stones at the same time. They followed each other like flashes of lightning. It was impossible to separate them. I couldn't understand where one of them ended and the next began. I have heard you, storyteller. In that case, you must make every possible effort to destroy the corruption. Unfortunately, I don't know where to get an instrument powerful enough to banish it from the ward stone. As far as I know, there's nothing like this in Kennebrez. But demons might have something. I heard the dying roar of Terran-Delev, the single dragon, the silver dragon, the protector of the city. Only a truly mighty weapon can slay such a powerful creature. I would advise you to go where Terran-Delev perished and search there for something. I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but intuition and a strange sense of rightness tell me to point you there. Present the purple stone knife. I found it in the square where Terran-Delev perished. What do you make of it? The storyteller reaches out and says softly, "Even from here I can feel strange energies emanating from this object. If you don't mind, I will examine it using my method. I will try to see the past of its owner, their emotions, and shreds of their memories. Maybe it'll help us better understand what we're dealing with." The storyteller touches the knife, his fingers clamping around the hilt with a hungry, masterful grip. His face contorts into an evil grimace, his voice disgustingly raspy. "Hunger. My many legs brought me into the lair, to my mother's feasting hall. Her swollen body, overfilled with food, is so huge that I have to look at it with all of my eyes at once. On top is her scrawny little head with a long beak that is always yearning for more food. You feel feverish. Your chest, where the mysterious wound is concealed, feels hot. Your mind is flooded with a wave of visions repeating the words of the old elf. Mother greets me with a placid screech. Stupid, greedy wretch whose only achievement is my birth. A creeping, wingless creature. It's your fault I have no wings. A symbol of greatness, a birthright I should have received from my mighty father. Mother points me to a crowd of whimpering subjects, suggesting I fortify myself with their pathetic flesh. Not today. I summon my spawn and they fly to me, enveloping me in a teeming cloud. Like dark, buzzing wings, they unfold behind my back and lift me up. Mother has always been strong, but she did not expect this. I dive on her and rip her limp, bloated body with my claws. Ichor splatters. The bone spurs on my heels sink into her flesh. I clench her pitiful tiny head and tear it off along with the shreds of meat. Victory! I am the strongest. I am the son of my winged father. The elf grimaces with distaste. His voice becomes normal again. Appalling. Stories like that are the most difficult ones to keep with me. Did this knife belong to a demon? The storyteller opens his mouth to answer, but a sudden spasm crosses his face. A new vision, a much stronger one, engulfs the old elf. The malevolent undertones vanish from his voice as it grows more determined and tired. Even looking at the ward stone is difficult. Despite the corruption nesting in it, it still has an aura of strength. Your fingers clench the stone hilt so hard it hurts. A little spot on the flawless surface of the ward stone draws your attention. It looks like a butterfly. Corruption in the guise of something utterly harmless, but it will grow. You swing and stab the butterfly with the knife as hard as you can. Your fingers cramp painfully. A howl invades your ears. Light, white light everywhere. The stone knife falls from the old elf's hand. Out of breath, he drops to his knees. He is trembling, the tear on his face so unlike his usual dignified manner. What What was that? That was not the past. That was something that is yet to happen, or rather might happen. One of the roads to the future, and one of the possible futures. This item will help you to cleanse the ward stone, or to destroy it. You feel a longing to take the stone chisel and plunge it into your chest, right into the wound that is opened up in it. It is hard to resist this feeling, but at the last moment, your self-preservation instinct takes over, and you manage to keep control of your own hands. The old man stands up. He looks completely stunned. Never before has anything like this happened to me. But how? I am not an oracle or a prophet. Or is this another riddle from the past that has caught up with me? I must find out. Seeing stories that have happened is one thing, but seeing stories that are yet to happen? I don't know why this is happening now, but there's one thing I'm sure of. This is not a coincidence. This is a sign of coming changes. Great changes. I have shared your vision with you, and this knife tempted me. Did you see what I saw? This has never happened before. Could it be the magic of the object you have brought me? I sense dark energies in it that can cloud and charm the mind. Be careful with this item. It may have tried to influence you, but you managed to overcome its power and subdue it. Or something else has happened to us that we don't yet understand. Can you see the future? I don't know. Obviously I can, but nothing like this has ever happened to me before. The future never opened its secrets to me before I met you. Gods, who are you? And why have our paths crossed? I feel this is not a coincidence. Something momentous is happening. Destiny is pushing us towards something. But what? Questions without answers. I swear, this morning I couldn't have imagined what awaited me. Maybe it's the knife that gives you the power of divination. This knife is a powerful artifact, but I feel that its power is of a different nature. No, I felt the same as I do when I tell the past. This is my gift, but manifested in a completely abnormal way. Is that what you saw destined to happen? Is what you saw destined to happen? No, the future is not set. It used to be a long time ago when the god Auridin guarded Golarion, but not now. Prophecies do not come true, or they do, but not the way they were supposed to. I only saw one version of the future, one of the paths leading to it, but the choice has not been made and our destinies are not set in stone. Who were you in your vision? I don't know. Someone strong and desperate enough to resort to extreme measures. I felt that what I was doing had to be done. Your powers are amazing. A few minutes ago I would have agreed with you, but the thing that has just happened, it disturbs me. My gift has never manifested like this. Something has changed, and these changes frighten me. Can I help you? The storyteller nods gratefully. I appreciate your offer. I have reason to believe that somewhere in Kennebrese there is a manuscript authored by an elf from Kyonin who witnessed Earthfall. The storyteller's voice suddenly breaks and he stops for a moment. For personal reasons, I would like to examine it, but no matter how hard I try, I have failed to find it. Even in the Blackwing Library, I only found a mention that the manuscript exists and is held somewhere in the city. I assume it's stored at the Gray Garrison. They wouldn't let me into the archive when I visited. All those crusaders were nervous about the strange blind elf interested in their secrets. It's understandable. The crusade naturally made them a little paranoid. But now the Gray Garrison has fallen into the enemy's hands. I would be grateful if I could see the manuscript. I want to know more about you. The old elf permits himself a faint smile. I am not surprised. A strange, peculiar-looking elf with unusual powers who comes from afar and calls himself a collector of stories. Such things usually spark some interest. I will answer your questions. Who are you and where are you from? Before, I would have said that I was a blacksmith from Kyonin who lost his sight and then found his true calling in a new craft, that of a story collector. But I have lately begun to suspect that those words are no more than a lie. The old elf chuckles sadly. It's quite the irony. I never thought I'd have cause to complain about my memory. It holds the stories of the entire world, but I've noticed more and more alarming signs recently. I encounter ancient stories and see myself in them. I don't remember those events, but stories cannot lie. So it means that my memory is lying, and I intend to get to the bottom of it. I'm looking for proof that my visions are true, and for the reason why my past has been hidden from me. You look ancient. I thought elves didn't get old. The blind man straightens his bony back with dignity. As you can see, we do if we manage to live for many thousands of years. There may not be a single mortal on this world older than me. The storyteller sighs and continues with a sad smile. Anyway, it's not about time. It's about the stories I keep inside. There's so much suffering and sadness in this world, and in my stories too. I've lived every one of them. I've drunk this bitter experience and accepted it in my heart. It's hard. the weight of all this suffering on my shoulders, but I wouldn't trade my burden for any other. Where did you get your strange powers? Storyteller shrugs. I've always got along well with things. I used to be a blacksmith, that I know for sure. I've always felt the essence of things, their spirit. For as long as I can remember, I've always been able to feel the traces of memories and feelings left on things by their former owners. I don't know where this gift comes from. Maybe, having taken my sight, the gods granted me another sense. Why did you come to the world womb? Searching for the truth about my real past has brought me here. I saw myself in other stories, and then I was called the elf in the tower. Now I'm looking for this tower, my tower, everywhere. I've been to many places. I visited islands and deserts, but I haven't found it. There are very few uncharted territories on my map. The world wound is one of them. How do you collect stories? Same way a court philanderer collects his conquests. The way a healer has a personal cemetery of patients he failed to save. The way every person, including you, has a box of secret, most precious experiences deep down in their soul that no one is allowed to touch. The world is not made of things or matter even. It's made of stories. They move from the past to the future, piercing our world at the point of here and now. They give meaning to everything. They are the meaning, and everything else is only the setting required for stories to exist. There is nothing more real and alive than a story, and anything real and alive can die or be destroyed, distorted, forgotten. But as long as I carry these stories with me, they will not be lost. This is why I don't often share my stories. By sharing one with you, I give you the right to tell it to others, to distort and embellish it, advertently or inadvertently. How can I be sure you will keep its original purity? Stories travel from one person to another. They change, become distorted, turn into tall tales. This is why I keep my stories to myself. I have no more questions. That's what you think. In fact, the world is full of amazing things. You still have a lot of questions that just haven't bubbled up to the surface of your consciousness yet. I have a few questions about our encounter in the Blackwing Library. Of course, I make no secret of why I came to the library. I was looking for something. What were you doing there? I was looking for a very old thing. Rumor has it, some ancient scroll or a book page about the times of Earthfall is held in Kenabris. According to the legend, it describes the last days of the proud kingdom of Kyone, later abandoned by the elves fleeing Galorian. I have a vague hope that the events described in it will shed some light on my past. Did you find what you were looking for? Storyteller shakes his head gloomily. Alas, no. But I found proof that the book I'm looking for is in Kenabris, or at least part of it is. I see. Please examine the items on carry. Perhaps some of them could tell us a story. The storyteller nods politely. Let me touch them and I'll tell you what I can see. Storyteller hand rubs carefully over the scale that still hasn't lost its shine. Proud Terran Delev, protector of Kenabres, you have devoted your life to serving people. Your death is a great loss, but maybe I will be able to find something about you that is unknown to the flock of your admirers. The storyteller is fiddling with a fragment of a gold buckle in his fingers. An old thing, created long ago by the divine will, but the power that gave birth to it is lost in the darkness. However, the relic still lives on, though it has changed. I wonder what secret it is hiding. Would you like to know it? Bring me 5 vials of magical essence, and I will revive this object, and with it, its story. The elf looks at you with unusual impatience. Shall we? Did I already do the stone knife? Let me see. Present the stone knife. Tell me about its previous owner. The storyteller touches the knife. His fingers... Nope. This is the one we did. Not mine. I'll wait the knife. Show Terran Delev's scale. Tell me about Terran Delev. There we go. The storyteller takes a deep breath and smiles. I am flying. I can finally spread my wings. I am gliding over a broad river. At sunset, it became smooth like a mirror. I see my reflection as if another silver dragon is rising to me from the depths. But what is it? The scales on my chest are black and darkness is spreading over my entire body. I wake up. Clear sky is swaying over me, blazing with heat. I am in human form. There is red dust of the wound stuck to my cracked lips. Someone is carrying me on a stretcher made of shields and spears. I am so weak I can barely raise my hand to my face. The look of my own hand terrifies me. It is black and the skin is glistening like scales melted by fire. I should probably cry, but I only feel hatred and nausea. All these people around. Out of sympathy for them, I left mountains, flights over rivers. I went to Demon's Lair. They don't have a scratch on them, and I am infected with foulness. This is not fair. My life is more precious than their mere existence. Oh, how much I hate them in this moment. And then I suddenly feel shame. No, no, these are not my thoughts. The Crusaders carrying me are my good friends. I am glad they did not suffer, but I hate them and myself so much. Pain pierces me along with hatred. It's all because of them, all because of them. Someone walking beside me touches me, talks to me, but the only thing I hear is your mentor. He will come, will help, and the conscience leaves me. The storyteller takes a deep breath, exiting the vision. So much hatred from Terran Delev. Wasn't she on our side? Terran Delev has come a long way. Once her unit was ambushed by demons who infected her with foulness. The Terran Delev you met in Kenebres went through all the trials and returned her former purity. What happened next? The storyteller puts his hand to his forehead. Sometimes the past can be as vague as the future. We all know how Terran Delev's story ended, but the beginning is hidden from us. Maybe if you find something else that used to belong to her, we will know more about her fight. However, no matter what we find out, remember, her soul, the soul of a real dragon, overcame all the obstacles and torments. She was able to become pure, for dragons are truly powerful, not only with their body, but with their spirit too. I wonder if she's supposed to be the avatar for that dragon mythic path where you become good when you were originally evil. We have more important things to do. Return with new stories. I will be waiting. I have to go. I wish you interesting adventures. Okay. Progress made. Does he have any new dialogue? I've seen how the other soldiers treat you. What about it? The dwarf's tone makes it clear that he has no interest in your answer. I wouldn't have gone so easy on you. Maybe you'll get your chance to do just that. Staunton shrugs indifferently. Go on. Maybe we'll see each other again. Cool. Boy, am I pleased with you. I asked you to bring me to safety, and that's exactly what you did. Indeed, having a follower to aid me is most efficient and, frankly, pleasing. With you on hand, I shall conquer new horizons, plumb the depths of knowledge hitherto unknown, and scale the dizzying heights of future discoveries. Nenio stops to catch her breath. What I mean is, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude. I foresee immense potential in our future cooperation. Happy to help. Hand in hand, we will unravel the greatest mysteries inaccessible to the minds of ordinary people. Just imagine it. I, leading the way, proudly staring into the faces of the gods themselves. And you, my loyal follower, walking behind me every step of the way, writing down my deepest thoughts and admiring the profundity of my intellect. If we hold hands, you won't be able to go in front of me and lead the way. You are the catalyst, which, when it reacts with my intellect, will allow the latter to grasp the very essence of the universe itself. Do you always express your delight so effusively? What? Who are you? Nanio stares at you for a while, bewilderment in her eyes, but then it is replaced by recognition. Oh, yes, my new follower. So, what am I supposed to do? Oh, yes, I must provide some verbal encouragement for you for your as yet modest achievements, and try to induce you to strive for more of such encouragement. That is a principle that underpins any training. She frowns, but only for an instant. Ah, I see. Your modest nature was unsettled by the overabundance of my gratitude. I do apologize for putting you in such an awkward position. I will never praise you again. Unless I forget. But let's get back to the business at hand. Your new assignment will be to take me to the inconspicuous ruins that are located in an even more inconspicuous valley lying between Kenebres and Dresden, as soon as is reasonably practical. I'll mark the place on your map with a large red cross, so you won't forget it. What's so special about these ruins near Kenebres? I'm glad you asked. This is my greatest hypothesis, my secret project, and I won't pass up the opportunity to share it with you because you are my loyal follower and you are worthy of possessing such knowledge. Nenio rubs her nose, and also because you're the first person to ever ask me about it. Some time ago, I was walking around the border of the world wound and I met a strange person. He was wearing a frayed gray robe and his face was hidden behind an odd white mask. Of course, I didn't miss the opportunity to ask him about the reasons for his absurd appearance. And do you know what he said to me? He said, "I am the answer, but what is the question?" Then he walked off in the direction of the world wound. The next day, after I'd already forgotten about the first encounter, I had another similar encounter. This time I met an elven woman, judging by the pointy ears sticking out from behind the mask. "I am the answer, but what is the question?" she said, before taking off toward the world wound. And then I realized everything became clear to me. I know a mystery when I see one. Consider this one of my myriad talents. Nenio rubs the tip of her nose. After all these geysers weren't simply on their way to a costume party, were they? After examining several maps, I determined that they were all heading in one direction, to a place not far from Kennebrez, a place which is marked as Nameless Ruins, even on ancient Sarkonian maps. That's where I need to go. Unraveling the secret of that place will be my greatest discovery. It will secure my place in history, or perhaps even in legend. How do you know where we have to go? Do you know how to find a beehive in a forest? You need to catch 2 bees, set them free in 2 different locations of the forest, and remember the directions they fly in. Then you take a map and draw lines showing the bees' routes. The place where the lines intersect will mark the location of the beehive. Fascinating, yes? By the way, forest bees do not make any honey. Nenio sighs. I use the beehive principle here too. For a couple of months, I tracked the strange people in their masks and observed the direction in which they were traveling. I collected the coordinates, mapped their estimated routes, and made a discovery. All the routes intersected at the Nameless Ruins not far from Kennebrez. What do you expect to find there? I haven't the slightest idea. If I knew what was in there, I wouldn't be so eager to go. These ruins aren't very far from Kennebrez. You could easily go there all by yourself. Why do you need me? Nenio's eyes seem ready to pop out of their sockets in surprise. Don't you see? This is a legendary secret place. Who knows what might happen to me after I lift the veil and uncover the workings of the universe? My mortal body may be unable to contain all that knowledge, or perhaps I will ascend and become equal to the gods themselves. I need you to write down everything that happens and report my fate to the interested parties and Absalom. And don't forget to praise me as I deserve while you're there. You know, these ruins of yours may turn out to be just that, ruins. Nenio shrugs. In that case, we'll write this experiment off as a failure and start another one. I don't know which experiment I'll try next. That's all I want to know about your task. Well, now you know. So, off we go. Nenio frowns. Did I just make a rhyme? Perhaps I've discovered poetic talent in myself. Let's conduct an experiment. Quickly, say any word and I'll try to find a rhyme for it right away. Science. That's when thinkers make alliance. Intellectual defiance. Not the best rhymes, don't you think? Well, this experiment was unsuccessful. We learned that I have no poetic talent after all. Nenio sighs. But there is no reason to despair. Having a gift of poetry in addition to my inexhaustible intelligence would have been a little too much. Besides, I am catastrophically busy and have no time to spend on writing poetry. I don't like it when you call me boy. My name is Tamori Sykes. On the grand scale of world history, your name is irrelevant. I have no reason to remember it. You see, the brain of any given individual can only contain a limited amount of facts. I only expend my memory on things that are truly important. The laws of thermodynamics, divine esoterica, planar geography, things that will lead Galarian to a brighter future. Nenio rubs her nose. Besides, what if I make a great discovery, but I won't be able to remember it because my memory is full of outdated or useless information? What a nightmare that would be. What a loss for the whole of Galarian. But you remember your own name, right? Only so I know what to put for the author's name in my encyclopedia. Are there any names worth remembering? There are, and to my deepest regret, there are too many of them. Nenio heaves a sigh that would befit a grief-stricken old man. The names of gods and demigods, the names of rulers, conquerors, and other persons by some reason deemed great by the people of Galaria, they etch their names into history, and, alas, every self-respecting educated person must know them. But there are some names I am happy to remember. Great scientists, some of them divine, others mortal, true keepers of knowledge and great experimentalists, the pioneers of knowledge, Aurori, Nethys, Arulu Vorlesh. I didn't expect you to mention Arulu Vorlesh. Interesting. You think so too? She is the greatest of the greatest. Just imagine, she managed to open a rift from Galarian to the abyss. No one knew how. No one believed it possible. No one even dreamed of such a thing. And she just did it. It was the experiment of the century. Nenio wipes a tear from her eye. And I would have been so happy if I could have been in her place. Of course, some part of Galarian's population died as a result of her experiment, and the Crusaders are still wrestling with the consequences to this day, but the very essence of what Arulu managed to do was a breakthrough of cosmic significance, both figuratively and literally. Sooner or later, the world womb will be closed. Peace will return to Galaria. As for the victims of the ongoing war, they will be remembered as unfortunate but unavoidable sacrifices made at the altar of science. Nenio blinks at you, perplexed. Were we talking about something? Tell me about yourself. I'm an explorer, a pilgrim, a yet-to-be-recognized scientific luminary, future author of the Encyclopedia Galarinica, and rector of all Absalom's universities at once. Future rector, I should say. Nenio speaks in one breath of his reeling off a practice monologue. That information should be enough to satisfy your curiosity, because I doubt I'll be able to tell you more than that. Where are you from? That information is irrelevant. I decided to forget it. How did you become a scientist? That information is irrelevant. I decided to forget it. You have a circle tattooed on your shoulder. What does it mean? Nenio casts a sidelong glance at her shoulder. Oh, that. I do not remember the circumstances of its creation, but I like it. I prefer to think of it as zero, null, nothing, a center point, an origin of coordinates. It reminds me how much of the unknown the world there is to explore. Don't you remember how you got this tattoo? That information is irrelevant. I decided to forget it. How could you just decide to forget important pieces of information? This is just one of my many talents. The secret is to stop thinking about the thing you want to forget. And the main thing is not to remember anything you don't need, to filter it, to get right to the essence. I'll teach you someday, unless I forget. What is the encyclopedia you're working on? The Encyclopedia Galarinica will be published in 100 volumes, 1,000 pages each, plus the author's addenda, appendices added by future co-authors, and critical commentaries. Addenda indexation is still in question. Nenio looks slightly embarrassed. I just like the number 100, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to keep within the established word limit. It will be a magisterial piece of scholarship that will become a part of the mandatory curriculum of every educational institution worth mentioning. In it, I intend to describe every object, item, event, fact, and personality that is present on or at least somehow related to Galarian. My calculations show that I have completed no more than a few thousandths of a percent of this monumental book. Do you remember your parents, your past, or is that all irrelevant too? All of it is irrelevant on the grand scale of world history. I have no reason to remember such things. I admire the capabilities of your memory. Nenio stays silent and gives you a puzzled look. What? What were we talking about? I'll stop torturing you with questions for now. What were we talking about? I'd like to clarify things about your new task. Nope, we're good on that. All right, I have to go. Nenio produces a crumpled piece of paper from her sleeve and takes some notes on it. This conversation lasted approximately 5 minutes. She lifts her chin. By the way, did you know that is the exact same amount of time the Inquisitors of Kenabris need to find a defendant guilty? But to shake off Inquisitors chasing you takes 5 times as long. That experiment proved that running while clad in heavy armor is not burdensome for them at all. All right. You shouldn't have any new commentary. Nope, and you don't. outside. Alright. You don't have anything either. Let's check with you. Your speech tells me you are of noble birth. Camellia laughs, a practiced musical laugh, as she watches you from under lowered lashes. You're most insightful. A fine quality to have. Camellia's laughter ends, and unspoken words hang in the silence. Forgive me if my question disturbs you. I couldn't resist such a noble and beautiful lady. I will stop bothering you immediately if talking to me upsets you. Not at all. Our conversation is an exquisite delight. Camellia affords you a brief, friendly smile in appreciation of your manners. So you're Horgus's daughter. You've discovered my most terrible secret. Father cares so much about the Gwyrm name that he raised me in our mansion, hiding me away from the whole world. I'll always be grateful to my father for everything he's done for me, even if Mentev society disapproves of some of his decisions. Would it be insolent of me to beg for your discretion regarding what you know about us? Camilla's words are polite, but her tone grows cold and sharp. Let us keep this as our little secret. I assure you, my father and I appreciate loyalty and decency for both myself and my father. I thank you for your understanding. I have to go. We'll talk later. I won't keep you. The dawning smile on Camellia's face freezes and quickly dies away. All right, one more.
Without a doubt.
Woljif comes closer and looks around quickly to make sure no one is eavesdropping. Look, Chief, I got something to show you. Ta-da! He makes a subtle gesture and an amulet on the chain appears in his hand. A silver amulet in the shape of a waning moon with a dark crystal in the middle. The moon of the abyss. A real beaut, isn't it? So you did betray the Thieflings. That cuts me deep, Chief. You and I just know who the real traitor is. It's just that when we robbed the shop, I went in first and took what I wanted. Nothing wrong with that. Woljif is silent for a moment, then a cunning grin crosses his face. Although, of course, I did think about hiding the moon and just taking myself off somewhere warm when this blows over, but only because I wanted to see the world. Is it a crime to want to travel? Is that what counts for treachery these days? Did you really have the amulet this whole time? Woljif grins, please. Since that night, Chief, Melleroom didn't even set eyes on it. While he was dealing with the golem, I sneaked past him, and that was that. You've been searched by guards. How did you manage to hide the amulet? Woljif grins. Thieves have their ways. Why didn't you give the amulet to Kirisme right away? So she would slay me right away, you mean? You saw how anxious she was over cannabis and all this, so I did it. I took the middle of the abyss, but I didn't go to Arabic, and Big Sister wouldn't hear my explanation. She does it at a time. I even thought I'd hide the moon somewhere, and then, when all the noser died down, I'd go get it and make a run for it. I'm sick of the Thieflings, and they never appreciated me anyway. Why did you steal the moon of the abyss? You wouldn't have been able to sell an item so rare anyway. Heh, why, he asks. Woljif puts his hands in his pockets and looks away. It's expensive, pretty, and you know it's my amulet, actually. Not meaning I stole it, but he sighs. I mean, this is my inheritance. My grandma and I were poor. All we had was a jewelry box with the moon in it. She used to store it under the floor in the basement, and she'd take it out sometimes just to look at it. She was always nicer when she had a few drinks with her, so I asked her things then. One time I asked her where she got it from, and she said it was from a demon. You know, the demon was my grandfather. He said the moon was to be passed down. My mom was good for nothing and nobody, so that's why my grandmother decided to get the amulet for me. She used to say it would be mine when I grew up. Woljif scowls, but she couldn't wait until I grew up. She squandered my inheritance when she became a drunk, took it to Philemon's shop and pawned it. He gave us a coppers for it and she didn't even haggle. Just grabbed them and went back to the tavern before last orders. Woljif looks away. I've been going to Philemon's to look over the amulet ever since I was a kid. He chased me away, but I just kept coming back, so eventually he gave up. He didn't skip on security. The place was like a fortress, so he wasn't worried about the street rat like me pinching anything. Even when I got more scared, I couldn't get any closer to it. One day I had no one to go with. Another day there were only oaths who never stole anything more than a church donation box. But when Kirisme had planned everything out, I realized I had a chance to get the moon and move away from here. Maybe the Garoon. I hear swarming there. I've stayed with the family far too long. You did the right thing by not giving away the amulet. Stealing from thieves isn't even stealing. You have to put yourself first. Walter cheers up. Allies, friends, it's all a load of crap. Life brings us together, forces us to make plans, do whatever it is we do. But it's a safe path, it ain't forever. I might be a traitor, but the others, are they any better than me? Monroe had a good reputation, the family was trusted, and you saw what happened. If you abide by the law, anyone can rob you. So you need to break the law first when no one expects it, and run before you go soft and get too attached. Making sure no one is going to take the amulet from him, Woljef hides it under his shirt and folds his arms on his chest. Whatever you think I owe you, I'm not just a thief. I have my own business selling things. Thanks to you, I'm still in the family, and we have the black market sewn up in this city. It's a good way to sell the valuables. So if you need anything, a scroll or something, just say the word. I have a little portal to our people in or something. You put a word in there and you get what you need. I can't get you anything big, but what they do have is all high quality. Nothing too good for you, Chief. What's mine is yours. For a price, of course. And that quest is completed. Now let's just go through his regular thread. Woljef is standing, repeatedly flipping a coin into the air and catching it. He looks bored, but the tip of his tail is twitching nervously. Noticing you, he perks up. Hey, Chief, how about letting me go? Why would you need a thief in your party? What if I rob you to sleep? I mean, I'm not going to for now, but what if I get the rush of inspiration? I want to know more about you. How much is more? Are your family tieflings too? My family. It's an interesting story, actually, but I don't tell it to you just anyway. My mother and father had a bakery. My father and mother had a bakery. Their life was great, but the guys never blessed to win any children. One day, my mother went to the river to wash some clothes and saw a basket floating downstream. Inside the basket was a baby, adorable and chubby and fast asleep. It was yours truly. In my hand was a note spritzed with expensive perfume that said, "Take care of my little angel." My mother brought me home, and she said my father realized right away that I was heaven sent. They raised me as their own. When I turned 15, my mother showed me my baby blanket. It was embroidered with the coat of arms of an unknown kingdom, all in gold thread. Ever since then, I've been looking for my real payments. But it's not easy. Traveling takes money. So if you have a few gold coins, I'll pay you back as soon as I find my real family. I give you my word. That doesn't sound very believable. Seriously? Usually everyone just believes everything I say. People love stories like that. You know, a cute baby, a basket, a blanket. What's not to love? They look at me differently, as if I'm worth more just because the streets I spit up on might have had a fancy coat of arms on them. Woljef laughs bitterly. If I was really a prince, I wouldn't mind sitting around here, and I can tell you that much. I'd have already gone to take what was rightfully mine, and then I'd come back with an army, so I could watch the guards and merchants push me around all my life, bowing straight before me. But that's not going to happen. Want to hear the real story? True story is boring. My family is human. My father and my mother. They used to live in a village nearby. I forgot the name. When my mom had me, my old man got so mad he almost killed her. Pinned her to the wall and started asking questions like why my son had horns and a tail. While my mom told him that her mother, my grandma, used to fool around with a demon. When he heard this, Daddy Dears got drunk, trashed the house, and then took off. I don't remember any of this, of course, but my grandma told me. I was about 3 years old when my mother brought me to Canterbury's 11 with my grandma. She said to her, "You and your demon have ruined my life. Now you handle her." Then she left. I haven't heard from her or my dad since. She did leave a blanket, though. That part was true. My grandma burned it because it was infested with lice. It wasn't even good enough to use as a rag. You think after all that, my grandmother saw light, felt rightly ashamed, and kissed my horns? I wish. Woljef grins nastily, his yellow eyes flashing. Baby used to give her trouble fooling around with a demon. She wasn't welcome anywhere, so she got angry. Normal kids got bedtime stories, see? But the only tales I got were about how my dad was worthless, my mom was a slut, and I was a demon spawn that no one cared about. She only kept me so I could help around the house and steal things she needed. So that's the truth. Tell me the real story of your family. I think that's what he just did. How did you become a tiefling? Woljef grins happily. I already was a tiefling, and life made me a thief. I've been in this business since I was a kid. My grandma used to say, if you don't work, you don't eat. She used to give me an apprentice to Iger, a tiefling neighbor of ours. He was a cunning old geezer who knew how to take a purse off somebody's belt, how to cut open bags undetected, even do some magic. I used to climb through basement windows and open doors from the inside while I was small enough. And when I grew and stopped fitting through the windows, I decided I was done with my education. I repaid my grandma for everything she'd done for me, which was absolutely nothing. Why would I feed her if she wasn't bringing me any money? If you don't work, you don't eat. So I took off. I got bored of my teacher too, but when I hinted as much as leaving, he said I owed him for my education. So I just nodded, and then I joined the Owlbears, the gang that ran our district, and told them that Iger was running their territory. I don't know what happened to him, but I stayed with the Owlbears. Then the leader started giving me the cold shoulder. I did steal from him, but never that much. So I had to rat them out to the guards. Then I joined the Golden Hands. That was a good time, rich pickings. I would have stayed with the Golden Hands, but the Northmen promised me a bigger cut if I told them where the Golden Hands kept their loot. I'm no fool, of course, so I told them. After that, I only had on watch to join the Northmen, and then the family came. At first, no one took them seriously, calling them Thieflings and all that, but I felt it right away. They had power behind them, and they had more money. I'm always on the winning side, Chief. That's why I joined the Thieflings, and right on time. So thugs came for the capital and made the Northmen leave. The ones who survived are in the family now, too. Tell me about the Thieflings. Alright, I won't tell you everything, Mom, but I can tell you a little. The Thieflings are Medivan thieves. The gang was started in Mendev's capital by someone or other, and soon after they spread all over Galaria. They're also called the Family. You know why? Because us Tieflings are easy to spot. Wherever we go, guards are always asking us, "Are you lost or something, Hornhead?" We usually say we're visiting family, and they say, "Oh yeah, who?" You're the name of a local Thiefling who confirms everything, even if they've never seen you before in their life. That's why we're all brothers and sisters. That's actually pretty cool. There are rules. Who does what, who gets what cut. I won't say it's a lot, but they make it worth your while. They even heal you if you take an arrow, but the biggest no-no is this. You don't steal from the family. If you don't contribute to the share pot, you'll get the cold shoulder. You won't be treated like family no more. And then everyone will hear that you went to visit some relatives who have a farm someplace. My best guess? The farm is some underground well beneath Kennebrest where they breed grave worms. If Sister Charisma and our boss looked the other way more often, I'd really be able to spread my wings. Nobody should live under the constant threat of punishment. You could kill Charisma and take her place. Woljif laughs. Now there's an idea. Nice try, Chief. But I'm no killer, never have been, and assassins are expensive. You know they bumped up the prices last year? I asked a friend of mine why he charged so much, and he says to me, I've learned to see the true value of my work. I read in a book that whatever you think you're worth, that is what you're on. Can you believe it? I don't even know the mug to read. So I can't just have Charisma taken care of. It's too much trouble, and no one will like it. Plus, people respect her, mean as she is. What do you think of Kennebrest? It used to be such a hole, then the Crusaders and refugees came here and things started looking up. Although it depends who you ask, I suppose. Which is better steer clear of here, because Ayamadei's followers are ferocious, especially Harwrong Shampak, the local inquisitor. He's a tough old goat. I didn't see him myself, but a servant girl at the tavern told me that his second cousin's son from his third wife as a paladin, and he said that Harwrong takes an unsheathed sword with him even to the privy, and when he sleeps, he puts it on the pillow next to him, and when he's in his cups, he strokes the blade and whispers sweetly to it, "You are my one true friend. You are the only one I can rely on." Everybody's giving us a hard time too. You so much as look at some nice little bauble, and before you can even think of taking it, before your fingers even twitch, she's coming for you with her nostrils flaring and her friends glinting. Scary woman. But even she's better than Sister Charisma, our boss here in Kennebrest. By our, I mean the Thieflings boss. If you get caught by Erebeth, it's all out in the open. You go to prison or you end up in worm food. But if you step on Charisma's toes, poof, you're gone. Just like that. No one ever sees you again. All you hear is he went to the family farm, even though he's never had a family or a farm. You have demon blood in you. Do you feel drawn to the abyss? Woljif's tails whip back and forth nervously, raising a cloud of dust. Why? Are you an inquisitor or something? What is it to you? If I wrong you somehow, just come out and say it. Don't ask me trick questions. Your shadow looks strange. What kind of magic is that? Ladies and gentlemen, roll up, roll up. No dark magic, no fraud, a trick without any deception. Woljif snaps his fingers and blue flame engulfs him. The shadow that was previously lying calmly at his feet grows, floating in the air behind him. It is the shadow of a huge horned winged demon with claws. Ta-da! It doesn't do anything, it just looks scary. I remember when I was little, an old beggar showed me and my friends how to make shadow puppets. You put your fingers together in front of a light and it makes a shadow of a deer or a dog or a dove on the wall. I tried so hard, I wanted to make the best shadow, and I did. It just happened. Woljif chuckled sadly. Funnily enough, that's the last time I had any real friends. They tried to stone me later, screaming at me, calling me a demon. A tiefling is always a demon to these wimps. Even the lowest ranking narc gnome thinks he's better than me, just because he's got horns or a tail. The poorest beggar and the filthiest gutter thinks he's better than me. Most people will never show their shadow again after the first time, but I don't care. If stones start flying again, I'll just run. I'm used to it by now. Chaotic. Looks formidable. I like it. Woljif chuckles. Please. What about the blue fire? That's my favorite part, and it doesn't burn at all. If I had a coin for every time I've caught a beating from my little show here, I'd already be pros in the golfer. But still, I don't want to give up something so beautiful. Alright, let's talk about something else. Are you really staying, or you're just waiting for a chance to run off? Woljif gives you a hurt look. As if I could. There are demons and dangers around every corner. The tiefling stops short. Don't you worry, Chief. I'll walk off my debt honestly. I won't stab you in the back or go off on the run with your money. And if you buy my wares, I won't have to leave at all. Show me what you can get using your tiefling connections. Woljif breaks into a happy grin. Look, Chief, the tieflings have all the best things. Anything I need right now? Wand to Sleep is kind of nice, actually. Yeah, the wands are pretty cool, but nothing I must have right now. Oh, hey, I got some stuff to sell. Oh, I don't think this guy that I'm holding is Masterworks, so I'll take that. All right. Cool. Then he have one other thing. I have to go. Let's talk later. Okay. Whatever you're free to do as you please. All right. Let's see. Nope. I already have a Masterworks guide. So. All right. And what's this? On all based on fire attacks. All right. Talk to him. Talk to Arabeth. Talk to all of them. Check the journal. Do not show completed quest. The inspiring cart. City's no more than nothing. Common cause. All right, we are good. So, what you have? Sell that. Whoops, cancel. Deal. Excellent. Alright. Sleep to restore Malmouth powers. There we go. Let's all back up to snuff. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, talk to her. What is our strategy for the attack on the Gray Garrison? I shall lead the rest of my forces in a frontal assault. This will distract the enemy enough to let you use the secret passage and reach the ward stone. Destroy it before the demons turn I Am a Day's gift into a weapon of the abyss. Most of the allies you found would join my forces, but you can expect a certain amount of support from them. The problem with Desnans is that you never know what to expect from those daydreamers. The Honorable Prior, Ramian, claims he has had a vision in which his goddess was putting demons to sleep. I'd like to hope it wasn't merely a dream. The Order of the Flaming Lance counts among its members both valiant knights and masters of the occult. We are about to test an experimental ritual they're developing. Should it all go according to plan, your party will have a serious advantage during the battle at the Gray Garrison. Absolutely. In these dark days, the most unlikely allies join forces to fight the common foe. All Thieflings are treated with prejudice in Canterbury's, let alone the smugglers and thieves of their kind. And yet they are on our side, and I'll make sure their contribution is not forgotten after the victory. They'll be of little use in open combat, but they know a lot about locks and security systems. They'll open locked doors for you and warn you about traps. Alright, everything is ready for an attack on the Gray Garrison. Time to attack. As the story unfolds, you draw closer to events that have the power to change everything. Some quests and locations may become unavailable. Are you ready to proceed? This is why you want to go ahead and get everything done before you do this. So, accept. Are you sure? You better double check. We can't afford to lose this battle. Everything is ready. Onward. 2 arms. Alright, so Windowalk definitely. Him definitely. She definitely need a healer. I'm going to take her for now. And then afterwards she can be our tank. But for now we're going to go with you. I want Camellia to get one more level up, and then I'll be comfortable with her being a tank. for Paladin. I wasn't building up persuasion. There we go. No, hers wouldn't be death touched. Yeah, bully. Right. That makes sense, okay. Go. Boom, boom. I really like Sela. I think she is such a useful companion to keep around. Well worth your time. Well worth your time. I mean, just being a paladin in general is fantastic. And then she gets a pet on top of that. Amazing. Amazing. She would have had 2 slots. I don't think that's that big of a deal, though. We're good. All the slots are filled, right? Oh, whoa. He got an extra slot. Whoa. Okay. So we are going to need to rest again. Yeah, his stuff is automatic. Alright, cool. So actually, we'll rest one more time before we get this started. She'll handle divine services. Night watch. Sure. There we go.
O light of the sword, Iyomade, forgive me my sins, and do not leave me in the darkness.
This is one of the few moments where you can hear voice acting from the characters.
And still you grant it to me. And that means I still have something to hope for.
It doesn't seem to happen as often if you're camping on the map. But if you camp actually in a dangerous area like this, sometimes not only is there dialogue, but there's back and forth dialogue. Alright, we will end it here because we're finally about to start this assault on the Gray Garrison. I hope you all had a great time looking at the content. Please leave me a like and let me know your feedback down in the comment section. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in a video later on this week. Take care.